2nd, 2021 to order. First, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
So, thank you. And right now we'll do the roll call for attendance. Trustee Yu?
Yep, and just a reminder, make sure when I call your name, it's also say the city, county, and state you're in. Trustee Bartlett.
Brian Bartlett, Novi, Michigan, Oakland County.
Trustee Chakuri.
Novi, Michigan, Oakland County. Present.
Trustee Crawford.
Oh, Trustee Crawford, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
There we go. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm on my phone because I couldn't get it to come through on my iPad for some reason or other. So anyway, Kathy Crawford, City of Novi, Oakland County, Michigan.
Trustee Dooley.
Catherine Dooley, City of Novi, Oakland County, Michigan, present.
Trustee Michener.
Tara Michener, Novi, Michigan, Oakland County.
Trustee Wood.
Trustee Wood, did you freeze?
Trustee Wood.
I wonder if he froze. Okay,
Maybe I'll come back to him.
He moved a little bit.
Oh, there you are. Jeff, it's your turn for the roll call.
Trustee Wood.
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm having difficulty right now with, I'm going to stop my video. It says my internet connection is unstable, but present, Novi, Oakland County, Michigan.
Okay. Trustee Yu, are you still there? We're having some internet problems today.
All right. Trustee Yu, present. Novi, Michigan, Oakland County. Student Representative Chang.
Sarah Chang, Novi, Michigan, Oakland County.
The Student Representative Tangarella.
True Tangarella, Novi, Michigan, Oakland County.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Appreciate it. Now we're moving on to the approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Corey, can you do the roll call vote, please? I'm sorry. Trustee Michener, I didn't see you. Go ahead.
I was waiting for you to ask for discussion for.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Thank you. Yes. Do we have discussion?
I do.
Right. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have some points for discussion regarding both the meeting minutes and the claims and warrants. And I was wondering if we need to move those from the consent agenda to matters for the board action in order to have that discussion, or can we just go ahead and do that prior to approving the consent agenda? So okay. You let me know how you want to do it.
Sure. Good question. Tom, can I defer to you for that guidance?
Yep, she can raise those at the time of the consent agenda. So the next item. Yep. And you can decide whether to move them then or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Yep.
Go ahead, Trustee.
You have the floor.
Yeah, you have the floor, Trustee Michener.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so really quick, my first point is approval of minutes. I have noticed.
No, I'm sorry. So if you just go ahead and approve the agenda, then when we get to the next item, you'll raise those points.
That's why I asked if I had the floor, and I was told yes. So
yes, I misunderstood.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just want to make sure I understand what I'm doing.
Oh, so if you approve the agenda, when you get to the consent agenda items, sounds like you'll be raising 2 points, and you can do it then. And then we'll decide whether or not they need to be removed and put on for action. Okay?
So you'll let me know when you're ready for me. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, Trustee Michener, for the confusion.
No worries. It's fine.
Okay.
So at this point, Madam Chair, I think you would just have a vote on the motion to approve the agenda. And then
Right.
trustee Michener's issues will be with the next item.
In the consent agenda.
I
Right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So right now we have the motion on the floor by trustee Bartlett and seconded by trustee Shirkuri for approval of the agenda. Trustee Yu, can you do the roll call vote, please?
Yes. Trustee Bartlett,
Aye.
trustee Chirukuri,
Aye.
trustee Dooley.
Yes. Don't skip trustee Crawford though. She was next.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's alphabetical. Trustee Crawford.
Oh, I think
Looks like
she
she's dropped from her phone.
Oh, she got back. Okay. Move forward. Move
Okay.
forward.
Trustee Michener,
Yes.
trustee Wood,
Trustee Wood, you froze again.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
trustee Yu, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. So now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Right now, I'm asking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do we have that motion? We have,
Motion,
go ahead. Go ahead.
motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, trustee Bartlett seconded it. And now we're going to open it up for discussion. So trustee Michener,
There you go.
I'd like to move forward.
Thank you both. I appreciate, well, thank everybody, but I appreciate the understanding. So I do have the floor.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
You do.
Right, so there's just 2 points I wanted to bring up, and these are for points of clarification, actually. So there's not anything to go, I'm not looking for anything additional. But in regards to the approval of minutes, I've noticed that the approved minutes from January 7th and the 21st budget meetings have not been posted to the library's website, as well as the approved minutes for the January 28th board meetings. Additionally, proposed minutes have not been posted to the website after our March 25th board meeting, and I'm concerned that we might be in violation of OMA, which is under MCL 15.269.3. That requires proposed minutes be posted within 8 business days after the meeting, and that approved minutes be posted within 5 business days after being approved. So that's my first point. I wanted to just kind of help us out there. And I can go to the second point if you like, or if you want to just wager that one, that's fine too.
So I guess, could we take them one at a time, Madam Chair?
So you'll be answering instead of somebody who's actually a trustee, the attorney from the city will
So
be.
I'm just actually a clarification of your question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So my question is through the chair.
Yes.
To Director Farkas, are there draft minutes that are available for those meetings or not yet?
Yes, and they were submitted, so I will check on the status of them because we submit them as they are approved. So I will definitely check.
Yeah, they're not.
They should, yeah, they should have been posted to the website. First I'm hearing, so I will double check.
Okay.
Yeah, and I noticed for a while, time keeps going away, so I got concerned. I don't want us to get a violation, and I think that's my job.
And there's no reason for them not to be posted. Absolutely, I'll be checking.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and I think just for clarification, I do have a question, if that's okay, trustee Michener. I'm going to ask Julie a question. Julie, when we have things that are added to the website, is that through the city services that's doing that?
Yes, it is.
Get it posted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to make sure that we get everything up there then. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you, trustee Michener, for bringing that to our attention.
Absolutely.
I'm going to throw the floor. I'm going to give you back the floor for the next item, which is claims and warrants, because you wanted to address.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay. So the next one is definitely under approval of claims and warrants. It's for the ServPro item. It's on page, if you want to turn to page 17, that's for account 268. Are we going to seek reimbursement from our insurance to cover the $1,791.02 for auxiliary heat when both the boilers were down? And if so, will we be able to also get a portion of our electricity bill reimbursed as well as the bill for DTE, which was $7,398.70 this past billing cycle, which was $883.59 higher than the previous month at $6,515.11 and $667.14 over the last 3 months, average of $6,731.56. In addition to that, also, did the ServPro bill include the cost of the upgrades of our electrical outlets from 110 to 220 volts had so that the auxiliary heaters could be powered? So that's part of it. The other part is, can you provide some breakdown for the Foster Swift bill of $3,171? There was no description in the invoice number column, and I would like to know what services were rendered since we were already $2,326 over our legal budget at the end of March per the revenue and expenditure report for the city of Novi, which is on page 50. So those are all the questions I have for consent agenda. If you want, we can definitely move that to the treasurer's report if that's better. But I think these things are really important. I want to be fiscally conservative. And, we talked about that at the last meeting, our budget.
Sure. I know that I don't have the ability to answer those questions at this time since they're brought up at this meeting. So I'm not sure how to address them or get the answer.
I can save them for treasurer's report. I mean, it's the same thing, but these are things that we should know.
Yeah,
I'm hoping if we're running right.
I just want to make sure that we're running it smooth, like you said. So
yeah.
In which case, if it's under a consent agenda, would we have to amend our motion to move it into treasurer's report? Tom?
So, Madam Chair, I guess what I would suggest is that the maker of the motion and the seconder amend the motion to move item 2 to matters for board action.
Okay.
Not the treasurer's report.
Not the treasurer. Okay, thank you.
So will the maker of the motion and the seconder agree to do that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I will amend the motion to move the claims and warrants to items for board action from the consent agenda.
Yep, and I agree.
All right. So
All right.
now you just vote on item number 1 of the consent agenda and then move on to presentations.
Okay, great. Let's do the roll call vote then.
What?
Aye.
Okay.
Trustee, sorry.
Yes.
Trustee Chiricuri.
Yes.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Michener.
Yes.
Trustee Wood. I think we lost Trustee Wood again.
We're having a lot of technical difficulties.
We lost Trustee Wood entirely. Trustee Yu, yes.
All right, well, the motion carries. So
Okay.
hopefully he'll pop on. All right, and now we're going to move forward to presentations, which there are none. Now we're going to do the student representatives report. So take it away.
So this is the March 2021 Library Board Student Representative Report by Tarun, myself, and Mrs. Gochar. So for the tween and teen library programs, there was the tween, teen, and adult grab and go craft kits, mini embroidery hoop pendants, which was held on March 8th. And guests could create wearable works of art by using cross stitch and embroidery techniques to be displayed in a mini hoop pendant. And attendance was 50 people. And then there was also the grab and go DIY water bead stress ball kit, which was held on March 13th. Guests used various supplies in the kit to create their own water bead stress balls. Attendance was 36 people. And then there was the Between the Pages Tween Book Club Trivia, which was held on March 24th. Guests read Part of Your Nightmare by Vera Strange and answered trivia questions relating to the book, and attendance was 7 people. For the teen space update, due to the executive order, the teen space remains closed at this time.
So for the Teen Advisory Board update, the 7th TAB meeting of the 2020-2021 school year was held virtually via Zoom on March 19th. The meeting kicked off with an icebreaker in which teens stated their names, grade, one word to describe their week, and their spring break plans. After the icebreaker, members discussed ideas for how they would like TAB to collaborate and host a future teen program with a Detroit group of high school students. Information was shared with members about the collaborative summer library program video challenge and encouraged teens to participate. Instead of a talent show video, members discussed compiling videos of magic tricks due to the lack of participation for the talent show. Members spent the remainder of the meeting starting to work on appreciation cards for the library staff. The attendance for the TAB meeting was 13 people. For the upcoming programs, we had the tween and teen adult grab and go craft kits on May 3rd, the Between the Pages Tween Book Club Trivia on May 19th, and the next TAB meeting is on May 21st.
On the next page, you can see a teen stop feature display. So working with a high school student who displayed their eating disorder awareness project and in recognition of the National Nutrition Month, the March Teen Stop display featured young adult fiction books regarding body positivity and image books. And that's it for the report.
Thank you so much. Do any of the trustees have any questions for our student representatives? Okay, thank you so much for attending. Have a great night.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the president's report. And I actually have something that I wanted to address. I'm going to read it on record, and I'm planning to send it to admin to include it in the next minutes. So thank you for obliging me. As interim president of the Novi Library Board, I wanted to take this time to let everyone know that I see and empathize with the exhaustion and continued pain that our Black and Asian communities are feeling right now. These feelings of anguish and fear are real and palpable, even though the tragic acts of violence that we collectively witness be outside our city. The pain of that trauma still echoes here and is being felt by people in our town who have experienced racism at points in their lives, including myself as a first-generation Korean and Greek American. The Novi Public Library is a place where people gather and access materials, resources, and programs that help expose them to different cultures, different perspectives, information, build new skills, and even explore new worlds. We're a place that helps build capacity for conversations and discourse. We are here to inform people, inspire them by seeing and experiencing representation, which in turn helps inspire people to express their own voices and help foster relationships to make sure all of us feel included within the fabric of our beautiful community. I wanted to also acknowledge and give gratitude for the work that Trustee Michener has been doing as a member of our board and for her work in advancing the DEI space. While it's not incumbent for our community members of color to educate others on the painful experiences inflicted on them due to their race, Trustee Michener still has shown up to do just that, despite the resurfacing of pain that it does cause. Many community members have also shown up to invest their time and form partnerships with us, and for that, you also have my gratitude. We are indeed one Novi, and therefore, when any members of our community feel pain and sorrow, it affects all of us. People may differ on approaches and process to help advance equity and enhance empathy in our city, but we cannot deny or debate feelings or experiences. Instead, we must all listen, learn, and affirm, and keep the discourse open, collaborative, and constructive. And that's something that I wanted to read on record, so thank you for obliging me today. With that, I'm going to be moving forward to the treasurer's report. Trustee Wood.
Okay. Excuse me. I think I have my connectivity issues hopefully resolved here.
It seems like it's working.
All right. Good. Financial report for March 2021. We have an approved budget for Fund 268 for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 of total revenues of $3,123,886, with the total expenditures of $3,167,505. That's a net of $43,619 to be taken from the fund. Approved budget for Fund 269 fiscal year 2020 through 2021. We have approved total revenues of $46,500 with approved expenditures of $51,050 with a net negative of $4,550, which would be consumed by the Fund 269 fund balance. Our revenue expenditure report for Fund 268 year to date, as of March 31st, 2021, we've had total revenues of $3,175,600 against expenditures of $2,120,127. For Fund 269, our revenue and expenditure report as of year to date, March 31st, 2021, we've had total revenues of $22,535 against expenses of $6,417, a net positive of $16,118. Our ending fund balance for Fund 268 as of March 31st stands at $3,318,266. The balance sheet report for Fund 269 has an ending fund balance of $1,723,098. Any questions or comments?
Yeah. At this point, would you be able to answer those questions that I asked earlier?
No, I would not.
Okay. Is that something that can be answered at the next meeting, I'm hoping?
I will take that with Director Farkas and see if we can get that answered correct.
And I ask these questions because there were some really good questions that were brought up at the last board meeting about budgets, and I just want to make sure I understand what we're doing. So it is my right as a trustee to ask that. I do have additional questions for you, Jeff, though, in regards to the budget and treasurer's report. Okay. I was wondering, and again, if you can't answer them at this meeting, that's okay, definitely, but I hope that we can answer them at least by the next one. I think it's super important. So can you break out the approved vacation payout line 704.210 of $7,500 and explain how much each paid holiday costs the library? And then the questions that go with that is, do only salaried employees get paid for a paid holiday, or do hourly workers get paid too? I'm kind of wondering, like, how does a paid holiday cost the library anything if only salaried employees get paid, if that makes sense? So that's a question I want to throw out. The library is not a retail service or a Target, right? So it's not like if they close, a lot of revenue is lost. It's about 0.4%, which roughly is about $12,000 of the 2020-2021 budget. So I just really would like those answers, just so I can understand what we're doing. I'm trying to be the best trustee I can be, and I don't have those answers, so I wanted to throw those out.
Okay, I'd recommend sending an email to.
Well, no, it needs to be public. This is a public meeting, and I do not want to violate the OMA. So this is
actually, you can send one-on-one emails. So I mean, you've listed what your questions are. So
I'm not going to send an email. I'm posing it to you. So if you want to write it down, it should be a public answer. If you can't do it now, that's totally understandable. But email is offline, and I don't feel good about that. And I've done research before to see how the best.
That is why we have Novi library emails. I mean, to cover that. So I don't see that as being an issue, but yes, I don't have the answer today. So that is clear.
That's understandable. And I totally get that, which is why I gave a month for you to be able to answer it. So you do have all those questions, but you know, I definitely understand as a taxpayer, people want to know this. I'm not just here for the library building, I'm here for the public, right? So I want to make sure that the public also has these answers.
Yeah, I wasn't saying I'd respond to you via email, but if you have clear questions, you can always send an email ahead of time. And then they could be go on public record to be answered.
No, I think I did it the right way.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, back to you, President Dooley.
Sorry, I was on mute. I saw Trustee Bartlett's hand raised. Trustee Bartlett.
I think from our previous discussion, what we probably should do is come up with the list of questions under the matters for board action, because that's where we moved this in our previous motion to come up with that list and formalize it so that, you know, whether we send it via email, but it becomes part of the minutes at that point.
Okay.
Rather than just a question under you know, the treasurer's report.
I agree with that. Thank you, Trustee Bartlett.
So I don't want to get the floor when I don't have it. Do I have it?
Hold on 1 second, just 1 second. Trustee Bartlett, are you done?
That was just my suggestion, because again, in our previous motion, we moved it to the next section, which is matters for board action. If we make it a formal request under board action, it becomes something that we can trace and follow up on. That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
You know, if somebody else has a better comment on that, you know, so be it. I think that's what we need to do with this.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Michener, you have the floor.
No, I appreciate that. I want to make sure I understand what Trustee Bartlett's saying, because I think what you're saying makes sense, but I want to make sure I understand it correctly. So if you don't mind if I repeat it back, are you saying that the questions that I asked, if they're under matters for board action, then they can be formalized via the minutes, and then there's a listing for next meeting? Is that what you're saying? I'm just trying to understand.
What I'm saying is that previously in our motion, we accepted the agenda, but we moved these items to the next section, which is matters for library board action. That's what we decided to do. We're now in the report section. I think what we need to do is say, here are the matters that the board wants more information on, and formalize it in that section. In other words, a formal request that says these are the matters for board action that we're looking, you know, we're looking to get further information on.
Okay. So do you want me to ask the questions again when we get to matters for board action, all of them, or the portion that I mentioned in the consent agenda?
You can, well, I think we had the issues with the heating and cooling, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we have the heating and cooling. We have the accounting for vacation time.
Yes.
Breaking down salaried versus hourly.
Yes.
And I think those are the two major categories that we're looking at, correct?
Well, and there was legal fees as well. I'm trying to understand our budgets. So a lot of it seems to me like it would go under treasurer's report, because they're all money. When I looked at it deeply, it was either consent agenda or treasurer's report. Okay. So I don't know wherever it needs to go. I guess my concern is that the questions are answered publicly when they are answered, because I do think that that's what we're supposed to do.
Sure.
And it's okay if it's not answered today, but hopefully by next month we'll have some answers. So that's my biggest concern. Wherever it goes, I'm fine with that. Okay. I do think it's important that they're asked publicly.
Okay, agreed. Because we made the motion to approve the claims and warrants in matters for board action, Trustee Michener, if it's okay with you, if you could reiterate your questions when we get to that matter.
Yes.
I would appreciate that.
I can do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Trustee Bartlett. Thank you, Trustee Wood. Okay. Now we're moving on to the director's report. Director Farkas?
Okay, starting on page 56 at the very top, just want to mention a few of our staff that are celebrating anniversaries coming up in the month of May. Gail Anderson, our programming coordinator, will be celebrating 5 years. Amy Marcus from our support services department, she's a clerk. She'll be celebrating 4 years. Allison Janicki from support services, she is a clerk and she works with our technical services area. She'll be celebrating 4 years. And Ray Manella is a librarian sub and has been with us 2 years. Following that, I provided some information that came from a question regarding the closed captioning. I believe that was an email. That was some information that was in an email that was sent to the board. So I gave everyone information that I received from the city when I reached out in regard to the closed captioning. And then below that, you will see 2 designs that I'm submitting to you so that you can see the artwork that's coming along for the lending library kiosk. The first option, option 1, is actually the color scheme and where we're going with this. There will be a few more tweaks. We want to match a little bit more of the colors that are popping out from our library van. So there's like a lime green color, some grays, oranges and things like that that will come through as well. But I just wanted to give you a snapshot of how things are coming along with that part of the project. I did include for you on page 57, as you can see, the canopy, it is ready. No more snow, because I think that was the last photo I provided to you, hopefully. Then you can see, and this was an idea that came from Trustee U, was to put up a large poster, just giving people a little bit of information about what's coming into that canopy area. We'll actually continue some poster type work at the very beginning when we go and launch the program, and not do the actual wrap artwork that's supposed to go on the windows right away, just because we want to give some time for some very good instructions on how to use the kiosk. And we're going to use those areas first for that before we actually put the permanent artwork on a couple of those glass panels. I did provide you a timeline as of April 15th, based on a meeting that was had with the city and working with them and the partnership we've had with the park and their work that they're getting done with finalizing the park project. And then with our vendor Envisionware, who we're working with to bring in the kiosk. So you can see that there is a target week of Tuesday, May 18th for the kiosk to be installed at this time. That is our tentative timeline at this juncture. And then it follows on to page 58 with some more details. So just trying to give you a little heads up as to where we're going with the project at this point. Also, I provided to you, just because, you know, my staff is in heavy planning for summer reading already. You know, we're going to be kicking that off in June, but my team is amazing. They start that planning in early January. And even with following closely guidelines from the state and stuff, I wanted you to see some information on how other libraries, this was collected by April Stevenson. So I'm very thankful to her for reaching out and getting this information, just so you can see what other libraries are doing locally around us coming into the summer. So we are on target, as you can see. I think we're actually providing a little more, but I do want to be careful to that, because I want to make sure that we kind of stay on par. I wouldn't, as much as I'd love, you know, Novi Library to be doing everything, we have to be careful of other libraries. If they can't provide it, and them coming to us, and then that being an exorbitant amount of people and numbers that I don't think we should, you know, try and tackle, but focus on our community and Novi community as much as possible. So that's why I wanted to provide you that information of what other libraries are doing. I do believe out of all of the libraries here, we are doing the most and will, and that is based on our, you know, size and obviously the needs that we know we want to meet with our own community. But just wanted to give you a snapshot as to where we're going with things. And then on 59, you can see some of the usage numbers that have been tracked at the library. Again, we're doing very well when it comes to the capacity and usage. We're not exceeding anything at this time and following closely the guidelines that have been given to us. So I'm happy to take any comments or questions at this time.
Trustee Shear-Clary?
Yeah, hi, Director Farkas. I was just curious, the numbers just in the past week, as we've gotten these further announcements that we're spiking here in Michigan. Have we seen a drop off? Are people self-selecting to not come to the library?
I don't have this week's numbers. I haven't looked at them yet this week, but I have not been made alerted to them going up. Actually, they've been staying pretty consistent. And
I was wondering if you see them going down as people are being.
Yeah, I think they haven't gone up. I can tell you that much. Yeah.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're moving to matters for library board action. So the first item on the docket is to approve the slate currently for the officers for the 2021-2022 election. Right now, we're looking for to initiate a motion for the slate as presented. Yes, Trustee Michener.
Can I initiate the motion? Is that okay?
You can totally initiate the motion.
Okay. I initiate the motion to present the slate as presented.
Thank you. And do we have a second? I'll hand it to Trustee Crawford for the second. I had two hands raised at the same time.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Now we're going to open it up to see if there's any nominations from the floor or if we're moving forward with the roll call vote. Any nominations from the floor? Okay, so right now the motion on the floor is to approve the slate as presented. Tori, can you call the roll call vote? Trustee Yu?
Definitely. Thank you, Mayor. Trustee Bartlett.
Aye.
Trustee Chakuri.
Aye.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Michener.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Yu. Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. The next motion is a motion to approve a statement by Trustee Michener as presented. So Trustee oh, I'm so sorry, Julie. Julie, I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
I don't mind me interrupting just for a moment. Would you mind letting the community know who the winners were?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I just think it might be nice to give them that info. That's all. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's in the packet, but I'll vocalize it. You're correct. So the slate as presented for the minutes is that the president of the Novi Library Board will be Kathy Crawford. The vice president will be Kat Dooley. The secretary will be Brian Bartlett, and the treasurer will be Jeff Wood. My apologies, everybody. And also thank you for the vote. That motion carried. Thanks, Julie. Okay, so we're moving on to the second matters for board action, which is a motion to approve the statement made by Trustee Michener as presented. Do we have a motion to approve?
I had a point of information.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm fully aware of what we're talking about. Has there been anything that's happened at our library or in our community?
So would that be for discussion? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk out of turn,
Sure.
but would that be?
So Trustee Shirakuri, if it's okay with you, if we can make the motion and get a second, and then we'll discuss it. No, it's okay. So Trustee Michener, it's your motion. So would you like to present that motion?
I would. I'd like to make a motion to approve the statement as written.
Would you like to read it into the record?
I would. I am looking for it in the packet. I'm all over the place in my packet, so.
Page 2, if that helps.
What's the page number?
2.
Page 2.
Okay. So what I had mentioned was for the motion, I would like it to say the Novi Public Library acknowledges the recent hateful acts that our AAPI and Black community have experienced. We are committed to continually growing in our work to ensure safe spaces and equity for our entire community and beyond.
Okay, thank you. So that's the current motion. Do we have a second for discussion? Trustee Crawford seconding it for discussion. So normally, just so you know, Trustee Shirakuri, when the maker of the motion makes the motion, I usually acknowledge them first to start discussion, if that's okay with you. So Trustee Michener, would you like to start us off for discussion, or are you?
I'd love to, yes. So yes, we had a listening session, and I can speak to the question that was asked, but I definitely want to allow you to have the floor when it's your turn too, Trustee Cherkuri. But we had a listening session, and it's unfortunate, but yes, Novi actually has racism too. So that was mentioned at our listening session that we had it in October quite a bit. And yes, it's actually taken place in our Novi Public Library. I've experienced it as well. So yes, it absolutely has happened. The reason why I wanted the statement to go forward, I want to be super clear. I believe in educating myself in library industry work, although I am not technically in the library industry, I'm just a trustee here, and that's what binds me to the library professionally. Our APALA suggested that libraries create a statement. They actually suggested a lot of things that many of you may or may not want to do, but one of the main things they suggested was making a statement. Our anti-Asian hate program that just happened that Gail Anderson actually ran, a lot of the people there also talked about making a statement. I work in the DEI space, not just here, but in other places, and making a statement makes a big difference. Other libraries are doing that. Our BCALA, which is our Black caucus of the ALA, I realize I should mention what these things are for those of you who don't know. The APALA is our Asian Pacific American Library Association. Our BCALA is our Black caucus of the American Library Association. But in addition to that, even our MLA has partnered with MAME to make statements against racist acts that have happened not only around the world, but also in Michigan. I sent Trustee Dooley and our DEI group, as well as Director Farkas, unfortunate occurrence that happened with a little girl, Journey Hoffmeyer, who was racially accosted by a library worker and had her hair cut for whatever reason. It definitely appeared to be a racist act. And a lot of people definitely have made statements about that. So when we make statements about these things, we show that not only are we dedicated in name only, but we will put our name to it. Our industry is doing this. I would strongly suggest we follow suit. I think it's important to put our name to that. It's kind of similar to how, April Stevenson talked to us a couple months ago about how it was important to put up safe spaces for the LGBTQ plus community. And I thought that was awesome. I think we need to follow suit and at least write a statement. So that's what I'm asking us to do. I think it's important. And I think when people see that, they feel seen and heard and cared for. Trustee Dooley mentioned earlier how these things are happening. You mentioned also outside of Novi, they're happening in Novi. I hope that we understand that. And if you don't believe me, you can ask a Novi resident of color and they may share that with you. So I think a statement is the least that we could do as a library. Our industry is doing it.
Thank you. Trustee Cherkuri.
Yeah, and so I guess my line of inquiry is I want to make sure one, if there's acts that have happened at our library that the right people know about them and they're being addressed. And then the second, I also wanted to make sure that this statement is tied to things that have happened in our community. And the reason I asked that is having recently started reading through Robert's Rules of Orders, I just want to make sure this is a proper motion in that it matches to what our charter says. And so as an organization, we're tasked with, as I understand, the library and things related to the library. So that was the line of my inquiry there. I guess one of the questions is, if it's not tied to something directly to the library, is it still proper for us to take on this kind of a statement?
Okay.
But it is tied to the library as well. I mentioned that. I'm sorry. I don't know if that was missed. I don't want to talk out of turn. I don't know if I have the floor, but I wanted to make sure you heard that part that I said our listening session. A lot of people actually talked about that. So it is tied to our library.
Yeah, and then, are they happening have these incidents happened at our library?
Yes.
Okay, and so the people within our library are aware of those now?
Yeah, we had a listening session. I mentioned in October, and a lot of people mentioned that. So yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Crawford, you have the floor.
Thank you. Let me make sure I'm unmuted. I am.
You are. We
So,
can hear you.
thank you, Madam President. I will say upon reading the first page of the meeting packet, I became so alarmed and concerned about this particular action item. So I called Ms. Farkas immediately asking what occurred at the Novi Library, and then she directed me to you. And I talked to you at that time because I felt like, if there have been hateful acts experienced by our Asian and Black community members in Novi, we need to know about it. I mean, I feel like we need to know about it. The police department should be alerted. And for none of my queries at the library really resulted in discovering, and with you, discovering more about this problem. So for a number of decades, I've made it my practice as a local county and state official to commit my voting based on facts. I like to know how extensive a problem is and what are all the pieces of the problem. So when I received the meeting packet, I endeavored to find out more information regarding recent discrimination. And when I read them, there was no indication that this was happening anywhere other than in Novi. So I contacted the police department and I contacted the city manager's office, because if we're having racial profiling and acts of aggression and violence at our library and within Novi, we need to do something about that. I contacted, as I told you, the Novi Police Department, and I'm sure I'm going to be getting some data on that. However, the police chief is out of town at this particular time. But I talked to the city manager, who indicated that in his last 7 years here as city manager, there have been no complaints related to racial incidents. He said last year, the Novi police had over 65,000 contacts last year. 7 of them were escalated. 2 complaints had to do with racial or civil rights. And after viewing the video, there was no violation. It was determined that there was no violation of the person's civil rights. So the city manager says that we have grown because of our diversity, and that as long as he has been city manager, he personally and our staff has not had complaints, people filing a complaint about discrimination. And so my problem is I can't vote on a statement to acknowledge that I am aware of hateful acts, since so far I'm not really aware of these hateful acts at the library and at the city of Novi. The other concerning thing that I have to say is that, studies have shown that negative rhetoric causes more issues than it solves. The statement as proposed is a negative statement. I'm concerned that anyone reading the minutes or listening to our meeting tonight is going to believe that we here in Novi and the Novi Library have a serious discrimination problem, and it exists here in the library and in the Novi community at large. So I would suggest that until we've learned more facts about the problem and hear people, for the police department to hear the complaints and for us to know how prevalent this problem is, that we should vote on a more positive statement that affirms our commitment to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the entire community. I think also our duties, and Representative or Trustee Chair Curry said something to this. I re-looked at the duties in the bylaws as trustees in the library, and our duty is to determine policies, rules, regulations governing the Novi Library operation and services. In addition, in sections 2 through 8, it pertains to the selection and the supervision of the director, budget oversight, building and site needs, cooperating with public officials, and supporting legislation that relates to our library. So I certainly am well aware there are things going on in the nation, but I'm more concerned as a trustee of the Novi Library is what is happening here. That is my duty as a trustee here, to determine what the problem is here in Novi. And until we have some facts about what is the problem really and how extensive is the problem, then I don't think that I would not be able to vote in favor that I acknowledge the problem because I don't really know. So I cannot support the statement as it reads currently. Thank you.
Trustee Bartlett, Trustee Yu, or Trustee Wood, do you have anything you'd like to add? Trustee Yu.
Thank you, Trustee Dooley. So first and foremost, I will be supporting this motion that's on the table. And just a little background on why I decided to vote yes, because I know earlier in the summer, Trustee Michener proposed a statement as well that the board ultimately voted no on, including myself. Just being anybody who living and paying attention to what's going on in the nation, as was mentioned, we can see a lot of the actions that have been happening and the hurt people are feeling. The biggest eye opener was at the listening session, hearing those that attended who are our library patrons, are residents of the city, expressing concerns that they see in our building in Novi. So that is why I am supporting the motion. And then also throughout this past almost a year of this increase in social justice and DEI initiatives that we have had, and a lot of our public comment that we've received and email communication. People view the library as that learning place where people can get that information and knowledge, and that's what this statement is basically saying. It's committing that we as a library and as the board, we are going to continually offer those services and offerings. That way, our community can grow and learn based on what has occurred. Thank you, Trustee Dooley.
Thank you, Trustee Yu. Trustee Bartlett or Trustee Wood? Trustee Wood?
Yeah, I think, the thing I have with this statement is, one of our key initiatives is inclusiveness. And I think that, there are other marginalized populations that, if as Sid here, it only, calls out to, and I would say that is an issue that I have with this. I think if we're going to do a statement, there's two things. I think number one, I think we should make sure we address everything as a community, but I also feel strongly that, we should be 100% agreed as a board if we're going to make a statement from the board like this. And I think, we should, address some of the things from Trustee Chair Curry and Trustee Crawford to come up with a statement that is unified and agreed upon by all of us 100%. If it's a split vote on a statement that is for the Novi Public Library, I think that that's a challenge for us to have any credibility with it. So those are just my two comments.
Thank you. Trustee Bartlett?
Yes. My main issue is the first statement, the word of hateful and the word of just bringing out two groups. Now, those that know me and have been around me understand that I am the head of a Hispanic household. My wife and my children are Hispanic and Latino, which is also a minority in this community. When I first brought my wife to Novi, it was kind of embarrassing because the Novi News did a article on minorities and so forth, and left out of the list of minorities with the Hispanic community, who, if anybody understands history, in 2000 was deemed the largest minority community in this country. Again, I am all in favor of a comment that talks about equal opportunity for all minorities, but to open it up with a statement saying, we acknowledge hatred I think that's a word that unless we have some very pointed hateful acts against individuals. Again, I think it should be open to all minorities, not just two groups. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't really have anything to add except that, I do understand where Trustee Michener is coming from with this. I'm not going to speak for Trustee Michener, obviously, but I don't really have much to add in terms of anything beyond what's written here. But what I would ask is, now that we have this conversation, Trustee Michener, is there anything that you'd like to add, or would you like to amend the statement, or would you like to keep forward with the statement as presented?
I appreciate that so much, Julie. That means so much. There were some things said that we need more education here. So I want to say that we need more education here. We do. There was a statement made by Trustee Crawford, and Kathy, that I have known you for a long time, and I've talked with you quite a bit, but there's definitely some blind spots here. You mentioned the police. Have you seen the news lately? When it comes to the Black community, they are afraid of calling the police for help, for any needs that are there. They're afraid. They are afraid of becoming a hashtag. Okay? There was a 13-year-old child killed with his hands up recently. And yeah, that didn't happen in Novi. But there are things that do happen in Novi that are absolutely egregious. I was at a tennis court in Novi, tennis clothes, because that's what you do when you're playing tennis. And somebody asked me if I lived here. I could give you a whole laundry list of things that have happened to me and to people who look like me and who look like the Asian American Pacific Islander community. There needs to be education. When I mentioned to you that there's a listening session that you have at your asset, right? That happened in October and it was reported. You're more than welcome to view that. Please, anyone view it. I think that's really important. I have been asked if I live here. I've been asked, where am I supposed to be? I'm a grown woman that's a professional. Racism happens quite often here, not only to me, but to children, to people that go to my son's school, to people who are in my neighborhood. Okay, so I just want to be super clear. And maybe you haven't experienced that because you're not draped in the skin, right? So that's possible. But I can tell you that it happens, and we don't call the police when that happens. It's not a good idea. It hasn't been a good look for us. It hasn't been a good idea for us. There are a lot of books. We actually have one for our book club, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. I'd say you should start there. That's something that our DEI community is looking at. There needs to be more education. I'm just so concerned. I will say, it's up to you all if you want to approve it or not. You do get a vote. Okay, so I can't force you to do anything, and I definitely don't want you to vote against your own values and morals. I don't like being called a liar. I did mention the listening session a couple of times, and Trustee, you did too, because it's been said, is this happening in Novi? And I've said several times, yes. And it happens in our library as well, and there's records of that. We know this. So we can do what we want to do. We don't have to vote on it. It is not a requirement that we're 100%. So that statement that's not in line with the OMA or with the library. We do not have to be 100% if we do vote on it. We do need to have a majority vote if we vote on it. I'm following suit, and I started off with the library industry, which actually says this is a good idea. So it shows that not only do we care about our own community, but that we also care about our community throughout. Here's what I'll say. I definitely want to be inclusive. That's super important to me. I think it's really important. And it's not just the Asian American Pacific Islander and Black community that I'm thinking about. However, some of the more egregious acts have been done against them, and that's what the library industry recommends. So I was going from the recommendation. This blurb, I altered it a little bit because I talked to Trustee Dooley, who mentioned making sure that we mention some of the things the Novi Public Library is doing to show that we are working towards these things. But if you look at those sites, they do mention these things too. So we all get a vote. There's 7 of us. But I just want to make sure that if we're commenting, please don't look at this Black woman and tell her there's no racism in Novi. Not okay. It's so insulting. I cannot stress enough. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can look at the listening session from October. We're not going to call the police.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Michener. Trustee Shirakuri.
Yeah, I'd like to ask if the maker of the motion would be open to tabling this so that those of us who are new can actually go back and review the listening session. And in agreement to what Trustee Bartlett said earlier, perhaps craft a statement that better, because while it's correct that a majority is not strictly needed for a statement of this import, it's ideal to get to a statement we can all agree with. Because I do want to listen to those things, because I agree with Trustee Crawford's concerns too. Acknowledging recent hateful acts by the nature of that implies that we know they've happened here in town. And I don't know that yet. So I need to listen to this listening session and see what it is. But I'm very concerned that the library should stay within the boundaries of what the mayor and council have. We're not elected, we are appointed to run the library. So I want to stay very close to what our focus is, which is our library. And I want to be educated. And so this is my second meeting. That listening session I'm not aware of, but I would be happy to go back and listen to it. So just want to see if you're open to tabling this thing so we can work methodically towards a statement we can all agree with.
Trustee Michener, if you'd like to respond.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your words. We are our own, and Tom, you helped me with this one. We are our own commission. We don't have to do what the city does. That's not true. We don't have to do what the city does. We don't have to follow suit with the city, which is why I use the library as our point of reference, the library industry. I want to really state that. So if we think that we have to do what the city does or mirror it, I hear that a lot. We don't. I will say this. No, I won't table it. I've learned, unfortunately, the hard way that when I table anything diversity, equity, and inclusion related, it gets changed, it gets fixed, no. So I don't withdraw motions anymore. You can reference our June meetings about how it looks when I table things or move them. It never works out for the people that are in most need of it. So I don't table or withdraw motions. I've had an attorney tell me it's okay to withdraw a motion before, and I listened. And then last month that was taken off the table after it looked like it was going to be okay. So I don't table motions or withdraw them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so is there any further discussion? Trustee Shirakuri, you raised your hand. Do you have anything more that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to put forward, I was going to move the table. Actually, is it appropriate to make a motion to table right now, or does that have to be made by the person who makes the motion?
So through the chair, it would be permitted for the motion to postpone it, as long as that it is permitted, Madam Chair, if there's a motion to postpone.
So, typically from what I understand, for point of clarification for the public, when there's a motion on a table and a second, another formal motion can be made. And it sounds like a trustee is about to make that. And in terms of procedure, we would have to vote on that formal amended motion. Is that correct? And then vote on the main motion?
That's correct, Madam Chair. If the motion to postpone prevails, though, then you're postponed to a future meeting.
If the motion...
In other words, if there is a motion to postpone,
right,
and it gets a majority vote, then you don't have the second vote on the main motion.
Okay. Okay, so Trustee Shirakuri, are you making that formal motion?
Yes, I would like to move that we postpone this a month so that those of us who are newer here can review the listening session referred to.
Okay, is there a second for that motion?
Second it.
And Tom, are we able to discuss again or no?
Yes, you can discuss the motion to postpone, yes.
Okay. Trustee Shirakuri, because you made that formal amendment, would you like to discuss anything further?
Yeah, just that, as I said previously, I think some time to understand what's been referred to by those who have been on the board longer, the listening session that was before I was part of this. And then I hope to follow what Trustee Bartlett has said and see if we can't craft language that's more reflects the beliefs of the entire board.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other trustees that would like to weigh in? Yes, trustee Michener.
I think it's unfortunate that we are a board that can't acknowledge the pain of those of our community. Tabling it, deferring it, postponing it. These things have been brought up since June. And, you know, you don't have to take my word for it. You can look at past board meetings, and whenever the minutes are available for different things, you can look at those. But I guess I'm really concerned. I'm very concerned about how we feel about specific communities of color, right? So I brought up those who have had egregious acts that, you know, your local Walmart might make a statement for if we want to go there, right? But I'm talking about our library industry and how they're doing this, you know, and I'm very disheartened as a trustee, and I've never seen so much resistance against racial equality, harmony, and unity as I've seen recently. So I'm actually, I didn't think this was going to be a big deal, just to say that we stand against hate. I didn't say we're hateful. I said we stand against it, basically, you know, and that we support those who are feeling hurt and harmed. I do want to thank Trustee Yu for standing up. You know, a lot of our board members didn't attend that meeting, you know, but he did, and I appreciate that. People do speak out. You have access to these things, right? So there were comments made at the last meeting. These aren't new. But we can believe what we want to believe, and I can't convince anyone otherwise. But I do thank you for the opportunity to bring it to the board for a vote. And I do hope that it's not tabled, but I'm only one of 7. So thank you.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Okay. I didn't weigh in really on the last motion, but I'm going to weigh in on this one. I do want to say that I respect everyone's discourse tonight. I do appreciate that. I am not in favor of tabling, although I do appreciate, you know, the discussion that we've had tonight. I would love it if we could get there as a unified body, but, you know, if we can't, we can't. It would be my hope that we could, and that's something that I do want to stress, is that collaboration is key. But I won't be in favor of tabling it, just so you know. But thank you for making that motion. Trustee Yu?
Thank you, Trustee Dooley. So yeah, I'm also not in favor of tabling it either. However, if the motion to table it does prevail, I do hope that this that my fellow trustees do take themselves to check out that listening session video, and then we can all, as a board, as a whole, work together to build this statement. Then, if that is the action or the route that we go.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, Trustee Crawford, please. You have the floor.
Okay. I'm very, very much in favor of going back and taking a look at that session. I was not on the board at the time that session took place, or what took place at the library, the listening, and the number of people that had issues with our library. You know, I'd like to know more about that. So like Trustee Cherukuri, I would like to have more information. And by that time, you know, if people have had, you know, I guess when you say things like hateful acts, I'm not sure in my mind what that is. If it's just, if it's somebody verbally expressing or making a racial statement, is it bodily harm? It's too broad, you know, so that's concerning to me when we make statements like that. And as I said before, I think it's better to make positive statements. I think it has more impact with people than it is to make negative statements. So anyway, we'll take, you know, I'll be in favor of tabling and listening to that meeting, and then perhaps we can craft something that everybody would agree to that would be more in keeping with, with everyone, just so you know, I mean, in my immediate family, my grandchildren, one is Asian and two are Black. It's not that I don't understand what's going on in some communities, but it was concerning to me that it was so broad that it made me believe that we have hateful acts, which could be harm, it could be physical harm to people at the library, and that's what my duty is to protect the library and the city at large, know about what's going on. So I'd like to have more facts about that, and perhaps the police chief also can share some information. So I'm in favor of tabling. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Crawford. Any further discussion? Yes, Trustee Bartlett, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to, in favor of tabling. Again, it's that first statement, and I get to look across the kitchen table at people who are not included in that statement because they're the wrong shade of brown, I guess. So again, it needs to include, we need to include everyone, and we need to make a positive statement including everyone, rather than, using trigger words in that first line. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Trustee Bartlett. Okay, any further discussion? All right, so the motion on the table is the amended motion to table the statement. And we do have a second. Trustee Yu, can you call the roll call vote, please?
Trustee Bartlett.
Aye.
Trustee Chirukuri.
Yes.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
No.
Trustee Michener.
No.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Yu. No.
Okay, motion to table is carried. Therefore, yes, Tom, go ahead.
So just if I can, so that the postponement carries 4-3, and it sounded like that was to next month. I guess I just wanted to, take one issue off the table for you as you all think about this. A couple of the trustees questioned, I think, whether the board is permitted to do a statement like this, and I just want to be pretty clear, your powers are very broad. You are permitted to make a statement like this. So if there's sort of concern on your behalf that it doesn't sort of fall within the powers of a library board, I believe it does. I make no statement about whether it's appropriate, whether you should. It doesn't matter to me. It's not part of my job, but I'll defend your right to act broadly as a library board for something like this. So as you're going through it, that I just want to make sure that's clear.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving forward to the matters for board action, which will be indicated as number 3, that deals with the claims and warrants that we moved from consent agenda to the matters for board action for discussion. So now, what we don't have the motion listed in the packet, so I want to make sure, how do we word this motion so that we can for discussion?
Hopefully that's a question for me. So I think, what was added to this section is really just approving the claims and warrants. And so you have I guess 3 options. You could, after hearing Trustee Michener's comments again, you could decide not to approve any of them and put them on until next month. That may not be what you want to do. There are probably plenty of other bills that you're willing to have paid. I guess the other option would be if the board finds those concerns or questions worth addressing, you could approve everything but certain items on the claims and warrants. I guess the third option would be if you could note Trustee Michener's questions but approve them and come back with answers to those items on the claims and warrants at next meeting. So that's the only issue that was put to this item. It sounded like there were a separate set of questions on the budget. I think the board has sort of put the conversation of that to this item, so you can do that, but I view them as two separate things.
Okay,
You can do them both now, but
okay, thank you.
start
just
first
wanna-
with the claims and warrants.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure we have clarity so that the motion is specifically made. So trustee Michener, would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, so I think the third option that Tom said makes sense. So I can state out everything again, and if answers can come back next meeting. It sounds like there's no knowledge of those things today, from what I understand.
Okay.
So come back next meeting, that's fine, and I can read those out again.
Now would be a good time through the chair.
Yes. So if we could read into the record, Tom, can you state one more time what your third option was? Because I want to make sure trustee Michener has the word.
Well, my third option is for trustee Michener to again list her concerns so that notes can be taken and we can be careful when we do the minutes. But that you go ahead and after she has listed her questions on these items, go ahead and make a motion to approve with the additional information coming back at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Michener, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So the first point that I had made in opening up this discussion is in regards to the approval of minutes. Now that was answered, but I'll just put it here again, just in case, if that's okay, or do you feel like?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll put it here again. Okay.
Wait.
I wrote everything else, so I didn't get anything wrong.
Sure. Sorry. Really quick. We have a motion, but we need a second, and then we can do discussion real quick. So can I have a second, please? Thank you, Trustee Crawford. Okay, Trustee Michener, please, you have the floor now.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, so approval of the minutes. So I just mentioned I noticed that the approved meeting minutes from January 7th and 21st budget meeting have not been posted to the library's website, as well as approved minutes for the January 28th board meetings. Additionally, proposed meetings have not been posted to the website after our March 25th board meeting, and my concern is in regards to not wanting to violate the OMA, which would be under MCL 15.2693, and that requires proposed meetings be posted within 8 business days after the meeting, and that approved minutes be posted within 5 business days after being approved. So that was the first one that I had mentioned, and then there's a second one as well that I mentioned under claims and warrants. And that one was for the ServPro item on page 17 for account 268. Are we going to seek reimbursement from our insurance to cover the $1,791.02 for auxiliary heat when both the boilers were down? And if so, will we be able to get a portion of our electricity bill reimbursed, as well as the bill for DTE, which was $7,398.70 this past billing cycle, which was $883.59 higher than the previous month, which was at $6,515.11 and $667.14 over the last 3-month average of $6,731.56. Also, does the ServPro bill include the cost of the upgrade that some of our electrical outlets from 110 to 220 volts have, so that the auxiliary heaters could actually be powered? I was also wondering under that, can you provide a breakdown for the Foster Swift bill of $3,171? There was no description in the invoice number column. And I would like to know what services were actually rendered there, since we were already $2,326 over the budget as of the end of March per the revenue and expenditures report for the city of Novi. And that's located on page 50 for reference point. So that is what I was looking for those items. Under the treasury report, I did have other questions in regards to salaries. So should we discuss those here, or should that also be here? That wasn't originally under claims and warrants. It really goes with the treasury report. But I was not given answers for that. And I don't know if you want me to put that here as well. Tom, go ahead. I'm sorry. It looks like your hand is up.
I'll wait for the chair to.
Okay, yes, I'm supposed to acknowledge Tom. I'm sorry, Trustee Michener.
So I think because this item is really just initially about approving the claims and warrants, I think you should vote now.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll be approved. And then since you did kind of informally add the budget question to this item, then I think Trustee Michener can give that list separately. So vote now on the motion to approve the claims and warrants, and then we'll move into the separate discussion about the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Michener, before we move forward, I saw that Director Farkas had her hand up. Director Farkas, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you. I'm
You're
all
good.
set.
Okay, excellent. All right, so right now, the motion is to move forward with research on those lists of questions that you had with regards to claim and warrants. And we do have a second. Is there any further discussion on those items or questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Tom.
So just to clarify, and I think maybe I just tuned out for a second, it's to approve. To approve, and then with a separate investigation and discussion at the next meeting.
Thank you. I like specifics. Okay, thank you. All right, so that's the motion currently. Does anyone have anything else to add? Are we good? Okay, I'm going to move forward with the roll call then.
Trustee Bartlett,
Aye.
Trustee Chirukuri,
Yes.
Trustee Crawford,
Yes.
Trustee Dooley,
Yes.
Trustee Michener,
Yes.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Yu, yes.
Okay, motion carries. So now, Trustee Michener, you wanted to bring up the budget items. Is that correct?
Sure, and those were really for treasure report. But I can say them again unless you have them, and then they can be brought back next month, which is fine. I don't know if it needs to go here. I do want answers to those. I think it's important, and I would like it to be mentioned at the public board meeting. So,
Right.
So that's up to you how you want me to do that.
So I believe, sorry, I have to ask Tom. I just want to make sure we're above board here. So right now, Trustee Michener has some things that she wants to make sure we have clarified and read into the record in terms of questions on the budget. Is she able to make a motion for that discussion? Do we need to make a motion because we didn't amend the agenda to do that formally?
Right. So my advice here, Madam Chair, is there doesn't need to be a motion.
Okay.
This is just a conversation, and it's my understanding Trustee Michener was just going to sort of relist those issues.
Okay, perfect.
The questions that she had on the budget.
Okay.
I will say you are permitted to send an email if that would help. But if you'd rather list them here,
I'd rather
list them here. You can do it now. Okay.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
I find that it's important for me to say things at board meetings. So I would like to do that here, please.
Okay, Trustee Michener, please move forward.
I appreciate it. So what I asked is, can you break out the approved vacation payout line, 704.210 of $7,500, and explain how much each paid holiday costs the library. And then the questions, in addition to that, is do only salaried employees get paid for a paid holiday, or do hourly workers get paid too? I'm wondering, if so, how does a paid holiday cost the library anything? If only salaried employees get paid for it, then their yearly salary is already a fixed cost. The library isn't a retail site, only 0.4% of the revenue from the library is a thing when we were actually open. So that's roughly about $12,000, and that's from 2020 to 2021. That's a number from our current year. Okay. So that was questions that I have. The library was already scheduled to be closed. It doesn't sound like it would impact the budget at all, and it is already, in some cases scheduled to be closed when there's a holiday. So that was my questions. Hopefully that makes sense. I tried to condense it a little bit and not be too succinct, but to make it pretty understandable for research and to get back with me. I think those things are important.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Michener.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. All right, I think we're going to move forward into now public comment. In order to hear all citizen comments in a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit. This is not a question-answer session. It's an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. Citizens must state their first, last name and address. And I just want to emphasize, you don't have to give your full number address. Your street is fine. We clarified that at the last meeting because that was important to note. Okay, so do we have anyone that wants to come forward? Studio 6, I'm talking to you. Studio 6, hello.
Sorry, my button wasn't working.
It's okay.
I'll start from the top. I've got Sharon. I'm allowing her to talk right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Sharon Trumpy. I'm a Novi resident living on Harvest Drive. I have been commenting at board meetings since June of 2020. I have repeatedly offered to partner with the library to share my experiences as the parent of a Black child and to share my expertise about DEI work and racism specifically in Novi. And I don't think I could be any more disgusted than I am tonight. I want to thank trustee Michener, who has repeatedly gone above and beyond to research best practices, not with the city, with the library associations around the country, the BCALA, the APALA, the Michigan Library Association, the American Library Association, and has repeatedly backed up her work with data. Kathy Crawford asked if there is racism in Novi and said that she had spoken to the police, and then again said that she would check with the police chief for input. I'd like to mention my Black child has repeatedly in Novi been called the N-word, has received messages from his peers calling him the N-word. It sounds like maybe Kathy's not concerned about that since she wants to know if there's any actual harm, if there's physical violence in Novi. I will tell you that my heart breaks and my 13-year-old is damaged every single time that happens. And I'm disgusted that you refuse to acknowledge that. A member of your own staff, a Black member of the library staff, intervened when a pedophile was approaching children in the library bathroom. That patron repeatedly called her the N-word, and he was protected instead of your staff member. She filed a police report. She made a statement to the attorney who is sitting with you right now. So if you have failed to do your research, if you have failed not to reach out to the police, but to reach out to the community members who have shared their trauma with you, and you're asking me for more time, I've given you months. Who has reached out to me? Who has asked me for more information on how to make sure that this community is safe for my child? Time after time, the hate speech policy is tabled time after time. The Juneteenth policy is tabled time after time. And then the trust of our community is broken when you vote against it. And then tonight, you want to put a positive spin. There is no positive spin.
I'm so sorry, your time is up.
Experience.
Thank you. Who's next, please?
Next up, I have Lisa Halton.
Miss Halton, you have the floor.
Hi, my name's Lisa Halton. I live in Novi and McMahon. This is the first time I've done a public comment here, but I've watched a couple of meetings you guys had, and I am here in support of trustee Michener. I've seen some really bad behavior headed her way, and it's not okay. She is standing up for her chairpersonship of the DEI committee, and I've seen her treated so poorly, it's not okay. You know, you don't have a diversity, equity, inclusion committee just to look good, right? You have a DEI committee to actually make a difference, to look at things, to talk to people, and then to act on it. And for you guys to table her comment, her statement tonight, it's, you know, it's not okay. You guys aren't listening. So please vote on this statement next month. You know, the ones that haven't listened to the listening session, listen to the listening session. And I really implore you to see from another viewpoint other than your own. Listen. These people of color are saying what are happening to them on a daily basis, microaggressions, they're being discriminated against. You don't get it. I mean, it took me a while to get it right. I'm not a person of color, but I stand up for people of color because that's the right thing to do. You need to listen, you need to hear, you actually need to get it from a different point of view other than your own. Now more than ever, DEI is important. We need to actually have a backbone and stand up against hate and discrimination toward people of color in our community in Novi. This stuff happens everywhere. People don't go to the police. You don't go to the police when you're called the N-word on the street. You don't go to the police when you're asked if you live in this city just because you have brown skin. Yeah, this stuff happens every day to people, and they're not going to the police, obviously. So going to the police is not going to tell you anything. You need to speak to the people that live in our community, which has already happened in October. Listen to that, hear it from their side, from their point of view, and act. I mean, a statement, it's a statement, right? It's not really affecting anybody, but it's a statement of support of our persons of color in our community. So I implore you, please vote to.
I'm so sorry, your time is up.
Thank you, Ms. Holton. Who's next?
Moving along to Betsy Bedoin.
Ms. Bedoin, please go ahead.
Hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. My computer was running a little slow for a second there. I just wanted to mention, I'm sorry. Betsy Bodwine, I live on Cranbrook in Novi. I have been also attending these meetings for some time now. I have been very thankful for the work of Trustee Michener and the just intense amount of vulnerability she has shared with our community with what she has experienced here. I have sat here and seen people be disrespectful with her, question her in ways that nobody else on this board is being questioned. And I think it's a little bit alarming to me that we would say we're not sure if there's been racism in Novi when I have seen racism happening on this board in these meetings. I do understand that we have several new trustees. Welcome, all of you, but the meetings are public and I have been able to watch them. I imagine if you are invested enough that you are now trustees on this board, that you have probably taken the time to go and see those meetings. If not, that would be a great place to start. When we have one African-American member of this board being treated so obviously differently than the rest of the board, that indicates to me that we at the very minimum have an appearance of racism in this community, in this board, and in our library. That needs to be something that you can all very easily say is a problem because you represent a very diverse community. And again, I would like to say that there is not a positive spin to put on racism. The positive spin is to say, we are against this. That is the positive spin. Acting as if it's not happening. I grew up in Novi. I've been a Novi resident for 35 years, primarily, a couple years off at college. And I can tell you that this has been happening in this community my entire life. I am a white person. I was not aware of things until I went to college and met different people. And expanded my viewpoint. And I think that the members of this board could do the community great justice by trying to expand their viewpoint. And when you have people of color telling you racism is occurring, as a white person, it is not our job to tell them that that is not what they have experienced. It is our job to say we are against racism. And I really do hope that you sit with that and think about it and hopefully do better for us next month. And I, again, welcome to the new members. I'm really hoping that next month I will have a better impression than I am leaving today with. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Next, I have Margaret Shoesmith.
Okay. Ms. Shoesmith, you have the floor.
Oh, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so yes, I'm Margaret Shoesmith and I'm on Mitchell Road in Novi. And I'm a member of the Novi Northville Racial Awareness Accountability and Action Group, NRA. And I became really involved in this issue. I'm originally from Canada. And when I moved here, I was very much dealing with having a baby. And when I saw what happened with George Floyd, something changed in me to see a death so heinous. And I wanted to become really active in the community when it comes to these issues. And I'm here for the same issue. And I really would like to support Trustee Michener. I attend the library with my daughter, who's now 2, and I always feel welcome and cared for when I see displays of books promoting diverse cultures, colors, and lifestyles. My daughter is half Punjabi, and it makes me very happy to see books that reflect both of her cultures back to her. And I wanted to speak primarily about Juneteenth. I watched all of the sessions on how the decision was made not to support the paid holiday. And I was really concerned, and I'm going to speak about it mostly from a question of tone. I really applaud Trustee Michener with this initiative for Juneteenth. And I wanted to address what I perceive to be callousness on the part of some trustees when voting down the motion to make it a paid holiday. And that was on March 25th. This is a sacred day for all humans. It doesn't matter what race you are or color, whatever. It is sacred for all of us, but especially African Americans. And I was stunned that economic reasons were used to put it down. And again, in such a callous way. I found that economic arguments were incredibly unconscientious, considering the day is one to celebrate the end of an economic torture machine that was slavery. Let's not forget, this country became wealthy from the unpaid work of enslaved people. And just talking so casually that perhaps African American people don't deserve pay on a day off for something that is so relevant, that was shocking to me. And if the library funds are truly not there, then more reverence for the sacrifices, at least, of the enslaved people of America should have been present in that meeting. I also wanted to echo Trustee Michener. I'm glad she mentioned it. I didn't hear anyone discuss the actual numeric cost of paying library employees for that day. In my opinion, the library should be public with its numbers in its meetings and make a decision based on the numbers. Some things are worth going into debt for.
I'm so sorry, your time is up.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Yes, we do. We have an Alexander Ware. I am allowing them to talk now.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Alexander Wire. I am a resident on Hunting Cross Drive. This is my first attendance of the board meeting. I want to reiterate and support what Michener has added, what you has added, what the other residents, Sharon, Lisa, Betsy, and Margaret have all added in complete support of all of that. And I'm thankful to live in a community where other people are here speaking up, and other residents, both people of color and especially the white residents in support as well. I am going to be watching the community listening session on YouTube. I have found it, and for the other board members to make it easier for them to find so they can, as they express, they are going to listen on YouTube. You can search out the community listening session reflection, November 9th, 2020. It's posted on the Novi Public Library YouTube channel. So that is there. I will be watching it, and I will be back next month to hear what everybody's reflections on that have been, and look forward to that greatly. On another note, it being Earth Day, I wanted to bring up a new idea for our community. In the Lyon Township Public Library, they currently have in operation what's known as a seed sharing library. And the Lyon Township Public Library Seed Sharing Library is a free program that lends seeds and encourages borrowers to return some seeds from their harvest to make the seed library self-sustaining. They hope to nurture a culture of community, sharing, and abundance by providing a place where people can connect to the traditions of sustainability and homegrown healthy food. Beginning and experienced gardeners alike will benefit from this new forum of exchanging seeds and information. The Lyon Township Public Library uses the former card catalog to organize and store the seeds. They also will offer programs pertaining to gardening, seed saving, and food preservation throughout the year. For statistical purposes, they require registration to use the seed sharing library, and patrons must write down what they take and bring in. The program is run on the honor system, and if for some reason residents are unable to return seeds at the library at the end of the season, they will not be penalized. I currently head a group on Nextdoor called Novi Growing Together, which in less than a year, we currently have over 210 members now joined. And at the beginning of a new growing season, I would very much like to see a seed sharing library catalog started at our Novi Public Library. Whoever I need to work with, whoever I need to talk with, and whatever information or resources I can provide to make that happen, or anyone else in the community who would like to join with me.
I am so sorry, your time is up.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that wants to come forward?
No, there's no one raising their hand.
Okay, thank you. I muted myself. We're going to move forward to committee reports. First up is Policy Committee with Trustee Michener as chair.
Yes, thank you so much. So we're working on it. We had a policy meeting this week. I feel like everything's going so fast.
It was last week.
Last week. Friday. We had it Friday. Thank you. And it was myself, Trustee Dooley, and Julie Farkas. And what I think was really helpful is we put it up on the screen, so we shared and went line by line. We discovered a few things that definitely are problematic and we want to shift and change. I think Director Farkas already has changed some of them, but I'll just note, especially because of our conversation tonight, one of the specifics. And that was, we had a policy where if a staff member of the library suspects a minor in the library, outside of the library, or 100 feet from the library is smoking or engaging in tobacco or vaping, that they should call the Novi Novi Police Department. And I definitely noted that probably would not be the best for many reasons. One, if it's a minor that is, if it's a suspected minor, then that's tricky, because I looked like a teenager for a whole lot of years. I've aged a little bit, but I used to look like a teenager when I first moved to Novi, for example, 16 years ago. So therefore, we shouldn't just go from suspect, because we can definitely get it wrong. So engaging is really good, which actually is mentioned at that listening session quite a bit, like engage. A couple of our other policies were changed because somebody noted feeling like they were just pointed somewhere. So that engaging piece is really important. We also talked about that if it's a minor, calling their parents is probably a good idea. Asking them to put that out is probably a good idea as well. Calling the police on a minor for a person that isn't draped in this skin. Again, I can speak from my experience. could get them killed, you know, and I love our Novi Police Department. I'm not saying that they would do that, but I'm saying that I would be very careful before calling any police based on some of the things that have happened recently. It's not the best route. It's just not the best route for Black people. In many cases, you know, I'm in this field of work. Many people would probably not call the police even if they were in danger, unfortunately. And that's just where we're at. That's honest and true. The best route would probably be like, you know, ask them to put that out, finding out first if they're actually a minor, and then going from there to figure out a better route to making sure that rules are followed. So that's one thing. And Director Farkas at that point mentioned that she would actually go through and just make sure our policies don't just go straight to the police, which I appreciate. We have a lot more to do. Trustee Dooley President Dooley actually made a really good note for me and Director Farkas as well about linking. So our policies are on the library, so you can go to our site, the library site, you can go to those and see them. However, they're in different sections, so that's not super obvious, but she mentioned putting a link there so it is, which I thought was a really good idea. That was President Dooley. So that way, if you see something and there's more to that policy, you can just click on the link and get the rest of it. It's compact that way, but it also doesn't shield other things that we need to know in understanding our policies. So it was a really positive meeting. I think that we worked together well. We all committed that we'll have 2 more meetings so that we can all bring back to you as our trustee board a really good, robust opinion that's comprised of all of our thoughts and opinions going forward. So it's a positive report, I believe.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next up is HR committee, and currently there is no chair. So unless Director Farkas has anything, there's no report at this time. Okay, thank you. Next up is the finance committee. Trustee Wood, your chair.
No report.
Thank you. Next up is events marketing and fundraising committee, where Trustee Yu is chair. Trustee Yu.
Thank you, Trustee Dooley. All right, so we have had a couple things come across our plates in the past month. But first, I'll share about some programs that Trustee Michener and Trustee Dooley attended, which was the Rise in Asian American Hate Crimes event on April 12th. That is on my list to check out as well. I haven't had the time to check that out yet, but it's on my list. And then last week or so, I believe, Julie emailed Trustee Michener, Trustee Dooley, and I the mock-ups of the Lakeshore Lending Library kiosks and how that would look. So we offered some input on that. And then Trustee Michener shared with me about the DEI's activism kits, which I assume she will talk about in her report for that. But yeah, we had a couple things come up, and that's all I got.
Thank you. Next up is strategic planning, which I'm the chair of, and there is no report for that currently. And then up next is building landscape committee. That chair is also open currently. So unless any members or Director Farkas have anything we need to add, there is no report for that. Okay. Next up is the bylaw committee.
Sorry, I don't know if you can see my hand, Trustee Dooley.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was looking down.
I didn't want to speak while you were speaking, but I wanted to go back. I had brought up some things last month that I was told that would come this month, but I'll just ask them again for purposes of reference. Okay. And there was a few other things too after reviewing the packet. So when was the last time the HVAC system was inspected and certified, and by who was one of my questions. I was wondering if they were properly certified by the state of Michigan Boiler Division. You know, there is an inspection that's required annually, of course, by the state of Michigan. So that's, you know, something I'll put out there. But then I was wondering if there were any precautions or inspections made of the second boiler after the first one went down. So those are some questions I'll throw out. I made a big list for myself so I can stay focused. And then since both suffered the same failure, is there a systemic issue here that needs to be addressed to prevent reoccurrence? So that's specifically on the HVAC system. and related to the boilers. And then I do have some additional questions in regards to the elevator systems. I was reading through the packet and saw that there were some issues there. So I'll just go ahead and throw those in too. So when was the last time the elevator systems were inspected and certified? And was the other elevator examined to ensure it would not have the same circuit board failure? And then lastly, on that note, what other large or safety critical systems require annual or regular inspection? And can you present those and their statuses at the next board meeting? I was thinking about our infrastructure. You know, we've had this, when I first came here to Novi, our parking lot, that's now our parking lot, used to be our little tiny library building, right? So it's grown a lot. It's a beautiful building. And I was just thinking about our infrastructure and how we're starting to see things. This didn't used to happen, right? But as I looked through the packet, I noticed we're starting to get wear and tear, just like I don't look like a teenager anymore. Our library doesn't look as young as it once did, right? So I'm hoping that we can preserve. So I'm just thinking about those issues because it is a beautiful building and I think the infrastructure is extremely important. So those are some things as I look through the packet that stand out. I think about, I believe it was last year, the year before, maybe 2019, when we had the flood and the flushing issue in our bathrooms. And I wish I would have been more curious about those issues then. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm being as good as possible as a trustee and looking at all of the issues that face our building.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Does anyone else have anything? Okay. Next up is bylaw committee. And right now there is no board members that are on that committee because the board members switched at the time. So there's no report. And then next up is DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee led by Trustee Michener.
Yeah, thank you. So we had a really good meeting. I mean, there's so much to talk about. April Stevenson gave us a good update. So at our listening session, that actually came up. We have a running list of things that people brought up that were of concern to them. And we have been going down the line trying to make sure that we address certain issues so that people, let me lay it out for you. We had a listening session where we listened, and then we had a reflection session where we got back with people and let them know our thoughts. And at that session, some people had additional thoughts and feedback for us as well. So there were 2 sessions for those who are curious about that session. Here's what I'll say. A lot of people were very vocal, and it's not easy to speak up about issues like this, but I think we did create an environment that opened up the door for them to do that, and I think we need to continue to do that. So we're running down the list to make sure that we're covering things. April Stevenson talked about a lot of the things that she did cover, which I believe a lot of them are in the goals update. You can see in red in the board packet that the director actually shared. So we are making headway on some of those issues, which is good. April's definitely been very busy. There's more to do, right? The work is never done. And I do think that's a positive thing. To continue to work towards these issues, which is actually what I put in my statement, that we're continually growing. So that's part of that growth. We also recognize that when we had that session, we said that we would try to do that more often. So we're already looking at another date for another listening session. So I think that's a really good opportunity, especially for some of the new board members to actually come, well, for all of us, right? But for some that said they didn't see it, to come again and see if there's more things that they can learn and even be able to partake in, to understand what some people in Novi actually felt comfortable voicing. I do want to make sure that we make it a comfortable environment and that we don't discount anybody's situation. That's not good. If someone says that racism happened to them, just believe them, right? Like, let's not debate it. It's not easy to talk about those things. So I just want to mention that. There is a committee reviewing a proposal for bystander training. Director Farkas gave me and Trustee Dooley some information on that. And I think from what I understand, we're both in favor of the cost and things of that nature. So I think Director Farkas mentioned getting a little bit more information, and that should be something that can happen soon, from my understanding. Bystander training is great. And I did ask if the board could come to that too, because again, I do think education is important, and I'm not, outside of that bunch. I'd love to get more educated as well. I don't think there's such a thing as too much education. ask my student loans. Outside of that, let's see, we're doing some book audits and collections audits, which are really good. We also have an idea to allow for some inventories, for lack of a better word, to happen where different community members are able to like view our website and actually understand what we're doing as far as DEI, asking different questions. A lot of different libraries do this, coming in person and doing that, like looking at collections, looking at different sections of our library to see, do they come off as inclusive? And I mean, that is our mottos, inform, inspire, include. So making sure that we do that. Once we're more open, we'll be able to do things like that in person, but we figure why wait? So hopefully soon we'll be able to have some kind of an online representation to be able to do that. So that's something in the works. Let's see what else. We are, and you can note this in Director Farkas's report. She actually has a blurb with a picture of this book. Sorry, my light is making it unreadable, but it's Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, which is what I held up earlier. I do think it's a good source of education. It was recommended by Director Farkas, who read it, and we as a group are reading it as well. So we've actually suggested it, and it's on our DEI site. If you have looked at our DEI site, I suggest you take a look. It has a lot of good information on there. In addition to that, we did get, I'm not sure if our email if we got any updates on our emails or if you've been able to test those, Julie, because I know that we got some things from some people who said that they didn't, I think you got some things, but me and Trustee Julie didn't get them. So I was wondering if we wanted to continue to test to make sure our emails are coming through.
As far as I know, we've not had any issues. I haven't heard anything. I did check with our IT person, Barbara Kowski.
Okay. So I think maybe maybe once a month doing a quick test to make sure we don't have that glitch again would probably be good. That way no one feels ignored. That was the only thing I would throw out on that. And then the APALA and the BCALA are memberships that we have. I mentioned those earlier, but I'll mention them again in reference to us having memberships. So we actually pay, and I'm grateful that we do. But one thing that I was concerned about is I don't know who from our staff actually are members in action of those two groups. It's great that we pay into it, but I hope that we're recovering a lot of the resources from it as well. It's been a great resource to me as a trustee. So I would suggest that if we don't have point people on the APALA or the BCALA, that we do get them. So those are some things that I could throw out. And then lastly was the advocacy kits and DEI kits. So I was thinking with the online, this is where the marketing committee talked about, trusting you. I was thinking about the online piece. There's a lot of easy online kits that the ALA and similar library-based groups have where you can get a lot of information and resources and just kind of drop down. So I've been gathering information to see, there's a lot out there, y'all, where we can figure out how to have that on our DEI page. But a fun, tangible thing, since we've been making make and take kits for our kids for different projects, since the library isn't as open as it used to be, could be like a little advocacy kit. Okay, so this is something I'm doing for the teachers at Deerfield, but this is an example of a little bag that we could have for a kids advocacy kit, something like this. I don't think the teachers would mind. And then we could throw in maybe stickers and say, I'm passionate about, and it's blank. So whatever they're passionate about, they can have that in there, as well as some different books on advocacy. I love the book that I think Linda Bruin had mentioned, which is The World Needs More Purple People. That's one of my favorite books, even though I'm a grown-up. So that's a really good book about advocacy by Kristen Bell, Veronica Mars. So that would be a really great idea. But books like that, also maybe some little scavenger kits or something like that to help them to get more involved. Some ideas on petitions or local government, things like that. Very basic, very nonpartisan, very non-biased, but just something to educate them. The library is a place of education, and I think that would be really fun for kids to have, and a great thing for us to work on. And again, a positive thing as well. everybody that knows me knows that I'm about positivity. I just unfortunately can't be positive about some racist acts that happened to me. I can't be positive about that, but I can have positive solutions for our kids. And I've got a 7-year-old, so I'm thinking about him when I do all the things that I do. So I'll throw those things out to you for review. I could talk on and on because we're doing a lot in DEI, but those are some things that stand out right now.
Thank you. And we do have a meeting scheduled next week.
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, just for everyone's benefit, there's some communications that are in our packet that are on record that hopefully you took time to review, but they're there for your ability to review. We don't have a closed session today. So with that, we're at the end of our meeting. So is there an entertainment for a motion to adjourn? Trustee Michener.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second? I think I saw Trustee Crawford second. Is that correct? All right. Trustee Yu, could you do the roll call vote, please?
Sure. My last time of my current term as secretary. Trustee Bartlett.
Aye.
Trustee Chirukuri.
Aye.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Michener.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Yu, yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.